Hello everybody and welcome to Chit-Chat Tuesday. It's nice to be back. I was away at what we're going to be talking about in a moment, ParaMeet, arranged by Neil Packer and Jane Rowley, who are with me now. Wonderful event. I'm really excited to talk about that. Hello Cowabunga and Sean. Hello, I hope you're all doing good. And it's nice to be back as well because not only was I away a little bit before the event, but also I was poorly the week before that, so I haven't been on for a while. So it's nice to be back and with everybody. Hello to you, Wendy. You should all remember Neil Packer from last time round from Haunted Antiques, but also as well I want to introduce Jane, who is a medium and as come up with some. I really liked what you were talking at the ParaMeet event, and your art, your psychic art that you were showing was really good, and drawings was really good and
Thank
compelling.
You.
And yeah, it's nice that you're on today. And when Neil suggested that you join, I was absolutely delighted. So
yeah, thank you for
I'm
having me.
Really pleased about that. Lovely. I'd like to say hello to Nick as well. So I've got a little video of what happened at Bosworth Hall, and just a little bit because it was a stunning building. Certain parts are absolutely stunning. So I've got through the permission of Neil to show some of his photos, some of Lorian's photos, and a couple of mine, and a couple of videos I just took around of the place as well to show it. So it'll be like a roll-in slideshow so we can talk about it. So I mean, so much happened. Usually I've got some sort of plan before. Oh, hello Barry. But you know, everybody's on a bit of a buzz because you know everybody's still talking about it at the moment. So where would you like to begin? And was there any specific highlights for either of you? So who wants to start?
I'll start tonight.
Yeah.
To me, it exceeded all my expectations of what the ParaMeet could be. If I've said this loads of times now, if you had asked me Friday night if I was going to do another one, I'd probably say no, because it's quite stressful organising something like this. But the atmosphere and all the friendliness and handshakes and smiles and hugging, especially from Paul Stevenson with the hugs, how can I say no? We're not doing it again. To be honest, it was quite an emotional day for me. I'm an emotional person. So the highlights, it's just everyone being friends, which is what the whole idea about ParaMeet is. With the paranormal, a lot of people tend to focus on the drama and the negativity in it. But Saturday just showed there is a lot of love, friendship, and positive things about in the paranormal. The guest talkers, I love every single one of you, and thankfully you're all coming back next year. To me, the highlight talk, I know Barry's watching, the highlight talk was Barry's talk, Barry Frankish's talk at the end. How Barry did it, I hold my hands up to Barry for standing up and doing it, and that was from the heart. Again, that sums up the ParaMeet. He was in a dark place. I don't think he minds me saying it. He was in a dark place, and if Saturday helped him at all, it's worthwhile to me. So what's your highlights, Jane?
The whole day was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. I loved seeing lots of people that I hadn't seen for a while. But there was one moment that actually really stuck in my mind, and it actually sort of captures the whole. It just sort of captured the whole day for me and the ParaMeet, because I was coming back through from the bar down the main corridor, and as I came through the door, that central corridor that linked all the rooms was absolutely full of people, and I actually just stopped and just thought, wow, because I hadn't realised how busy it had got. And I just stood there for a moment, and I just looked around, and there was lots of little pockets of people, but the place was full, and everyone was talking, smiling, greeting people, hugging people, chatting about all sorts of things. And I just stood there for a moment and just watched that. and that just absolutely summed up what the ParaMeet was all about, and that is a moment that's really stuck in my mind, and that was the highlight of the day for me. Just seeing that all those people come together and the atmosphere was just amazing.
Brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Yes, I must say hello to Mick, who's here. Barry's watching, and I so wish I saw Barry's, because I heard some really, really positive comments about that one. So it was a real highlight. So thank you, Barry, and I do apologise that I missed that one. Lauren is here, Patricia is here, Joe is here, Kelly is here. So Barry says, I'll just pop this up. Barry said, I love the love and friendship I got from everybody gave me the strength to conduct my talks. So that's really good, thank you. And I'll just get in the charger here, because I realise that the charger needs to be put in. So do forgive me, everybody. This is live. I'm using a different laptop to my usual one, so I have the wrong leads in here. So I do apologise for that. I think that one of the things which I want to, and we're plugged in, I think, yep, we're all safe now. So apologies, everybody. So yeah, one of the things that I think was a highlight for me was Jane, you went and showed your drawings, what you picked up psychically from the Haunted Antique Centre, because we're talking about the Haunted Antique Centre to begin with, and the one drawing that you did that matched up with what a child drew at the centre. I was compelled by that. Would you like to say about that story, please?
Yes. We were talking when we very first got to the centre. We did an investigation, and I was sitting in what was then the old seance room, which is now the attic room, and the other members of the team were in the doll room, and they'd set up an SLS camera focusing at the top of the stairs. And I was sitting in the room there, and I was shouting through about these two men fighting on the stairs, and the others were sort of laughing because they thought they were watching sort of SLS porn or something, but these two men were actually fighting. And I did actually draw a picture of these two men, and one of them is really, or the leader, if you like, the most dominant one. He is really quite a nasty character, and I did draw him as well. Just in, no, my books are still in my other bag. I didn't bring them with me, unfortunately. But he's a really quite a nasty character, and he is. I do believe he's been here a very long time. He sort of he sees that as his territory, those back stairs. And on one occasion, a young family came in, and the little boy, he was about 7 or 8, and he actually went walking around on his own, and he came through into the tea room, and he said, I've just seen a monster on the stairs. And I got the little boy to draw the picture, and it was very similar to the character. The hat was very much the same as what I drew, and as soon as he drew it, I knew who he'd seen. But he did call him the monster on the stairs, and that it always amazes me, or it gives me quite a bit of confidence when people actually see the same as what I've drawn, or they can match up what they see, and it's always really good, for the centre as well, that we actually get clarification on some of these spirits, and when other people see them and they can identify them from the drawings.
Yeah, absolutely amazing stuff. And thank you for bearing everybody with me whilst I was getting the the lead into place. So I thought that I'd share the video file that I put together of just some of the of the ParaMeet. I'll get this up now because it might be quite good. And you had beforehand what I'll just go. Oh, there we go. I think it's going to go now. So we've got this. So you had what we've got here the night before. If you can explain what happened the night before, would be amazing, please.
Yeah, Penny Griffiths-Moore has done a talk at the centre before, so I've always wanted Penny to do a talk at the ParaMeet. Unfortunately, Penny couldn't make it the Saturday, so we added an extra night. So the original plan was we weren't going to do anything Friday night, But Penny could make the Friday nights, so we invited Penny, and we did a ghost hunt with Penny afterwards as well. So Penny is a great historian. She talked about the workhouses. Again, you see, I learned so much about the workhouses that I didn't know. We all think of the workhouses as Oliver Twist, but they weren't actually like that. They weren't sort of prisons. People could come and go as they pleased, and to a lot of people, they were a lifeline. It's just that they were on hard times, like lots of people were, and so the workhouse did do a good service, and
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought they were like prisons. But Penny, I always want Penny to do a talk at our ParaMeet, so hopefully Penny can make it again next year as well. Hopefully Penny can make it on the main day as well.
But the Friday night was amazing anyway, wasn't it? Because after Penny done her talk, we all went upstairs and we did an investigation, and some of the information that we got was really really good for the guests. Of Neil Storey, he had his a relative come and visit him in the seance room, which was really good, quite emotional for him. And there was also other people who came, and I said all the spirits that came and talked to other people around the table, and that was really good. And upstairs in the war room, Neil's story showing us and telling us all about quite a lot of items in the war room was just amazing. It really was, and it was a fantastic night.
Fantastic, very, very good. Neil's story was brilliant. We just had a little picture of Neil's story pop up a moment ago. I'm just going to get up Barry. So I know I keep going on about it, but you both yourselves, Neil and Jane, created will take a hell of a lot of beat if it can be. Well, I think that that if we get the same amount of people there again, the same sort of crowd come in, I think that it's going to be better, and it's one of those things I really feel that could keep growing. Because I know beforehand you were a little bit nervous about it, Neil. At what point did you think to yourself, this is really come together, and it's gone past my wildest expectations?
I was nervous because I knew it was a really good idea. The ParaMeet was a good idea. I knew I got some of the best speakers I could possibly get, and so I'm really appreciative to all you speakers for coming. But I didn't know if people were actually going to come through the door, did I? Until they started coming in. I realised, and like Lauren, I think Lauren made a comment earlier on. It says, in the morning it's a one-off, but by the time it ended, it's returning next year. I think I decided very quickly. It was in a matter of a couple of hours. Then I thought, yeah, I'm loving this. What we have created, it is something special. I know there's other paranormal conventions, and they've got their spot in the paranormal. But the ParaMeet was, in my opinion, something different, and I think it can only grow. That's so it wasn't long into the day before I thought, yeah, I've got to do it again.
Good. I must say hello to Nick, Lisa, Ironfire Horse, Lorna, Michaela, Kate. There's the names so far that are coming up. Please ask your question. This is coming up from what you said before with the joy in the childhood. It's good when children can speak openly about what they see. That verification was Fabi, which is really good. So any questions to anybody at all, that would be really good. So I think that what we might do now is I've got the order of the speakers up. And just kind of go through, and we also, because very importantly, the stall holders were amazingly important as well to the event. So I like Kate Ray. I thought she was really good. If you want to say a little bit about Kate Ray and how you got hold of her
Yeah.
and her
I love
piece.
Kate Ray. Me and Kate Ray have sort of hit it off right from the start because we both have a passion for fairies, and we've had some great discussions. And I absolutely love the work that she does, and it was great to see her there. I didn't actually get to listen to her talk, but I know it would have been brilliant. Everybody said how much they enjoyed it, and she's a great asset to the paranormal field, and the way she promotes the Fae with her knowledge is just brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's one of those things that are becoming more and more accepted now in the paranormal community, and you hear about it being talked about. The paranormal community is about the Fae, fairies, and all that. So, what's your knowledge of the fairies? I mean, obviously, I think Kate said she would be delighted to be a guest at some point, but you know, I was very much like her at the beginning when she was saying what is the Fae. I'd always kind of thought of like the Tinkerbell kind of thing to begin with. So what's your thoughts on fairies? And I must just read this beforehand. Nick said, I only intended to stay for an hour. It was that enjoyable I stayed over for. So yeah, absolutely.
Well, we've had over the years, because we do sort of a show. We used to have guests on very similar to you, Paul, and Kate's been a guest a few times. And the first time we had her on, I must admit I was very sceptical regarding the Fae, because like you, I thought fairies were Tinkerbell. But after talking to her and listening to what she said, I thought, blimey, there's more to this, and no, we have become good friends since. And the more you talk to her, the more she talks to you, the more I am a believer in the Fae. You know, and I know Jane talks to the Fae as well.
Yeah, I
On
do a
your
lot of work
walks.
with the Fae. I've done house clearances that where the Fae have been involved, and I absolutely love working with the Fae. You know, most days I walk to the woods and I talk to them and I go and see them, and you know, they're at some point you know they are quite unsympathetic and just laugh at me most of the time. But I love working with the Fae.
Because she was mentioning lots of different types of Fae that you have. So what were the types? Because she was talking about infestations of Fae into people's homes. What sort of Fae have you dealt with?
Well, one of them was a new build house, and the little girl was getting, she was seeing black shadows outside. She'd stand, the back door was glass, and when she'd stood by the back door, there was a shadow that kept at speed coming up to the door and just standing there and watching her. And there was also there was activity going on in the house. The activity that was going on in the house was the lady herself, the woman who owned the house. It was her spirit guide. She was going through quite a difficult time, and the spirit guide was really just trying to help and guide her. As for the black shadow in the garden, I went out into the garden, and it was actually a spirit of the Fae that had been. It was a spirit that had been displaced because when they built these new houses, there was like a little copse of trees there, and they'd cut all the trees down, pulled them all out, and just flattened the ground. And this was like a lost. This Fae spirit was just sort of lost, really. And because this was where their home was, these trees were actually, you know, on the site where this house was. And I actually sort of relocated him, if you like, to the local woods where I do go walking, and all the activity stopped, and the shadows stopped in the house. So, you know, it didn't stop in the house. The shadows stopped, the activity stopped, and she didn't see the shadow anymore. So I took him to the local woods and relocated him, if you like.
Good, yeah, and that's I think relocating from what I heard during the talk is that's what they prefer, because yeah, Kate was saying about, you know, she first of all wrote how to get rid of them, and it kind of really backfired on her quite considerably, to the point where she was actually spitting out mud at one point when she was a group of people. I've got Lauren here, said it was bloody brilliant. I don't like the word para-unity, but this was the real deal. It was genuine. And,
That's a good point, actually. The word para-unity. I've seen a few teams use the word para-unity, but they use it for their own benefit. They think they get more likes and shares and that sort of thing by using the word para-unity, but they don't really want para-unity. I'm on about some teams that are on the sort of fringe of the good side of the paranormal, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So we don't tend to use the word para-unity, but I totally agree with Lorianne. If it's genuine, and I think everyone agrees who came Saturday, sees how genuine everything was.
Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It
but
does.
I think just sort of one word on that. I think if you create an event that's where the sort of the intention is love and friendship and compassion and you know that bringing people together, I do believe that Spirit would help us with that, and I believe that everybody that came had the right intention and they wanted to make it so it was full of love, compassion and friendship on that day.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly felt that. It just felt everybody was welcome. Barry says, I have never felt so welcome anywhere like I felt on Saturday. By the end of the day, strangers were friends and friendships were reinforced. I must also say hello to Annie here. Yes, and thank you, Annie. I am feeling a lot better now. I was going to move on to the next speaker, which I've got down in the list, but also as well, the store holders. They had because some store holders were also of the guest speakers, but there were also a lot of store holders that were just there, but really made again part of it because there were several rooms. There's like the corridor, 2 rooms, and the main room coming in. Any store holders of some stuff they were saying, or anybody that you want to mention, particularly of the store holders?
Well, obviously my wife Julie. she was the main stall holder. No, I think they all played the part. And there were tarot readers. There were people selling paranormal equipment. There was, and I've had more contact me since Saturday, asking me if they can have a stall at next year's event. So I think they also they played their part in the day. Obviously, we had the Haunted Magazine guys. You just can't get rid of them pair anyway. So
No.
they're like a bad penny. They just turn up everywhere. No, I'm just joking. And even Kate Ray had a stall selling her little mushroomy things.
Yeah.
It just added another dimension to the day. And already we've been talking about next year. We've got other ideas planned, which we won't say just yet. But next year is going to be even better. That's all we can say. I do come up with some weird and wonderful ideas. Sometimes Julie and Jane and the others have to sort of rein me back in a bit. But two of the things I'm planning for next year, they are good, aren't they? Let's face it.
Yeah, we're gonna review it all. But as a stall holder myself, I was just so pleased to be there. Even if I hadn't have sold anything, it would have still been such a bonus to just be there. It was just a real privilege. But we tailor all our stuff to sort of the paranormal field anyway, and it was just lovely to be with like-minded people, and people showed a real interest in the stuff that we did. And it was just great to be there, and I think all the other stall holders felt the same.
Yeah, they did, and it was just everybody was smiling, and chatting, and it was people, that were on it would approach me, and vice versa, which was really really lovely. Michelle says, I was a bit worried about coming on my own, but I was welcomed by everyone. It was lovely, really enjoyed it, and cannot wait for next year.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it's the atmosphere, and that's not all. That's not just down to us. It's everyone. Our intent, like Jane says, the paranormal's a lot to do with your intent. We put the right, as far as I'm concerned, we put the right intent as a team, as a collective from Haunted Antiques. So the basics was there anyway. So as soon as people walked in, they could feel the atmosphere. If you have a negative atmosphere, people know, don't they? So the atmosphere, the good positive atmosphere was there from the word go, and then it just spread as people came in. There was more positivity coming in, so the room was charged with good, friendly, positive energy. And how can you not enjoy being in a positive location?
and the focus wasn't it, bringing people together and being in a friendly environment. And that was one of the reasons why you wanted to keep the entry fee low, to make it open to everybody and make it affordable for everybody who wanted to come and just join in.
Yeah, completely. And I think that it was nice. It was nicely priced to make it affordable for everybody. Now the next speaker, which I didn't get to say. I mean, as I said, I wish I saw all of them. But Hazel Ford, if you want to say a little bit about good Hazel.
Hazel. She's the owner of Haunted Happenings. I think Haunted Happenings are the biggest venue group in the country. But Hazel approaches her business different to most people. Now, some venue groups like to think they are giving a paranormal investigation to their guests, if you like. Hazel doesn't say that. She says to her guests, she is giving them a ghost hunt, and they are different. So they're not professional. They don't expect professional, experienced investigators coming on their events. Although towards the end of Hazel's talk, she says she would welcome investigators come, because she can get into the large locations. Small paranormal teams can't. So she is now opening some of her events, the large ones, to teams to come join them as guests, but they can go off on their own, so they can do their own serious investigation. And I think Hazel admits her nights are primarily for people who watch Most Haunted, that sort of thing. They are kind of entertainment. They do take it seriously, but they're not like a paranormal investigator who are documenting the temperature, the air, humidity, and all this. So Hazel, again, she's a good friend of the centre, and Hazel's coming back next year, which is good. The funny thing is, I heard Hazel's talk before her talk that she says, I haven't got a clue what I'm talking about. And I just think, well, neither did I when we started.
Yeah. It's the best way, just kind of just opening and just allowing the information to come.
I just blag it all. Jane had some notes, but I didn't.
I don't paragraph that I wrote out 10 minutes before.
But I think if you're talking about something that you're passionate about, it just sort of flows anyway. If I started making notes, I'd forget half of them anyway. So it's not worth me making notes.
Brilliant. And Higgypop was there, Steve.
Yeah.
And so I just saw some here. So Stefan, hello to you. I'll get yours up in a second, but we're just talking about Higgypop. But he did interviews with a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Hopefully he did everybody. I think he might have done everybody, but he also wrote a great article about Bosworth Hall as well. So his videos are put, the ones which are up at the time. There's a few more since then, but in the description of this video, so that you can watch. Have you had much dealings with Higgypop before, Steve?
We've known Stephen he came to the centre not long after we first opened, about 4.5 years ago. So we've known Steve for a long time. We have won awards when he did the Higgypop Awards. We've won a couple of awards with them, so that's always nice to be recognised for the work that we do. Steve is a good supporter of the centre. He's very methodical. It's nice that what he was doing with his microphones and cameras set up so he could interview people. Again, that's something that we can expand on, I think, next year. So that was a nice added bonus to it, I think. And he does some really good work. Steve does. He loves the paranormal.
Yeah, totally. So we had a question here from Stefan. Were any of the resident spirits of Bosworth Hall active during the event?
Yes, there were. I did actually pick up a couple of them. I've in my little book of drawings, I have actually got quite a few drawings of spirits from Bosworth Hall from when we've done investigations there. There is a lady who's like a housekeeper. She's very much dressed like a house with the white sort of thing and the black dress and she's mainly in the room. I always pick her up in the room where the stalls were, the other stalls. And I did pick her up on the day because she was fussing about all the people in the room and the mess that they were making and stuff like that. And it was Pete Barry did actually pick up a photo of this lady as well. He actually caught a photo of this lady. And if anybody has read Penny Griffiths Morgan book, she's wrote a book on Bosworth Hall, and my account and Pete Barry's photos are actually in there of this lady, and I did pick her up. But also Lady Dixie, as you go into that room where the stalls were, on the left just there's a photo of her, and I have actually got a drawing of her in my book, and she actually showed me where she was on the wall when we did the investigation. I did pick her up as well. She was sort of on the stairs, sort of watching everything that was going on.
Yeah. Was she, because you didn't like the mess, was she okay with everybody in the end?
I mean, it's just one of those things, isn't it? It was her responsibility to keep it all. It did used to be from what I understand, a billiard room where only the men would go, and it was her responsibility to keep it all clean and tidy for the men playing in there. Yeah, I mean, it's. I did pick up a few on the day, yeah.
Yeah. Iron Firehorse says, I haven't heard Higgypop's name for a while, but yeah, Higgypop's still very much active. Do go to his, because do check out the videos in the description, because they're really good. Steve's interviewed, Richard Felix interviewed. They're really nicely put together as well, and he had like a 2-camera shoot as well, which was brilliant. So sort of moving on from that, I really wanted to see Dylan Jones. In fact, I rushed down my laptop to try and help him out to begin with, but somebody had already sorted that out for him. And his talk sounded really fascinating. If I got it right, it was something to do with people who do panel investigations and Ghostbusters and the cooperation between them. Did you get a chance to see it or know what he was talking about?
No, I didn't get a chance. I only got to see Kate Sherrill's talk, actually, because during the day, I thought it was important for me to sort of mingle.
Agreed.
And it's important. I thought it was important for me to keep going to the stall holders and the guests to make sure they're all okay, make sure they're all happy. So I spent most of my time talking, I must admit. But I thought that was important. But I've only met Dylan once. He came with Haunted Live to investigate the centre. And he's doing, I think he's a degree course on modern day ghost hunting sort of thing. So I thought that would bring a different sort of aspect to the day. So I think everyone enjoyed it. You know, sometimes people are sort of not so interested in the scientific side of things. They like sometimes people like the flashy cat balls, that type of side to the ghost hunting. But Dylan brought another aspect to it. And again, Dylan said he'd be happy to come back next year. So I'm really happy that all the speakers enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, what I was going to sort of say as well, because of the store holders that were there, I also saw some sort of equipment sort of being sold. I must admit, I'm pretty old school when it comes to ghost hunting, because I was ghost investigator, paranormal investigation, whatever how you call it, because I used to do them in the early 2000s. So when I blow the dust off my equipment, it really is ancient sort of technology now. But you know, in your haunted antiques and what is available out there, and I saw some stuff for being. Do you use much in the way of equipment and that whilst you're communicating with spirit or
Well,
demons?
we demons. We don't use a lot of equipment. Jane and I have been working together over 10 years now. Would you believe
Yeah,
that?
easy. Yeah.
So the way Jane and myself work is Jane will speak to the spirits, because some spirits want to use the Ouija board, some might like to use the dowsing rods, some like to use other things. So Jane will sort of ask them what they'd like to communicate with. So you know, quite often they'll say dowsing rods, and I like using the dowsing rods. But you know, we use the noise reduction module as well, and we used a Pathfinder board, which is really interesting in the demon connections. But I don't like the spirit boxes. They do my head in. But if we've got them, but so if they want to use that, they'll tell Jane, and that's what we'll use, and that sort of thing. But we don't have lots and lots of technical equipment. I
All
don't
the
think
equipment tends to be yours, doesn't it? I don't
Yeah.
really have any equipment at all. I use my mediumship, but I think I've got a couple of cat balls in my bag and an EVP recorder, and that's my torch, and that's about it.
Yeah, but EVP recorder must have dust on it now. It's been a long time.
Oh, I think the
Yeah.
battery's flat because I've not used it for such a long time. But
So no, we don't use a lot of equipment. I personally like personal experiences. If someone says they feel like they've been touched on the head, to me that's great. Okay, it's not evidence to me, but to them they were touched on the head, and that's
Yeah.
I love that sort of thing. You know, if people go into the attic room, for example, at the centre and say, "Oh, I don't like the feeling of in here," that's great to me, because they are getting their personal experience, and I think that's the most important thing. Personal experiences.
yeah, and I do prefer stuff that's not easily influenced by people, living people. Things like REM pods. I do like the REM pod because it's sort of there, and if it goes off with nobody touching it and nobody nowhere near it, then you know that's good for me. I like that.
Yes, yeah. No, I like stuff like that as well. Charles, welcome. Yeah, you're not too late at all. And anybody else that is joined and I haven't managed to catch and haven't said hello to, I do apologise. Hello to you. Let's get this up from Lorian. I think it was really good selection of speakers, a nice variety of subjects. Iron Fire Horse, I'm in Canada or would have to come to the event one day. I may come back home. You'd be most welcome. And Barry, you'd love my old school kit pull. I'd love to know what that is. You know, I used to be a DJ at one point, and you know, it's still now it has to be vinyl records, most definitely.
Yeah.
Lorian says, I felt something crawling on the back of my leg on Friday night whilst Penny was talking. That's interesting. Thank you.
See, I love that sort of thing. Only Lorian knew that, and I think she did mention it afterwards. I think that's great. No, it's to her, it's evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've certainly felt some very strange things. Be interesting. I mean, I'd love to. I'm definitely going to. Hello, Carol. I'm going to certainly be making a visit to the Haunted Antique Centre at some point. So I never actually felt this here. In case people thought I was describing the Haunted Antiques Centre, but I was in the haunted pub once, and the only way I can describe it, I don't know if you had experience it, it was like having a drip of water but passed right through the body. It was the most bizarre experience. And then somebody else next to me had something very similar
Yeah.
not long after. But that was I can't. It wasn't like anybody touching me. It was like literally through the body. It was very, very, very mad. Anything else you wanted to add to that before I talk about mention the next speaker?
Well, I like it when people feel things touching their legs or scratching their feet or things like that, because there are creatures, and we have a lot of spiritual creatures here at the centre that people probably wouldn't come across anywhere else. We have a lot of things here that people wouldn't necessarily find anywhere else because of things that we've perhaps experiments that we've done or things that we've wanted to try. And I would welcome anybody to come along and just see how different the centre is.
Barry, question for you, Paul. What was your highlight of the day? I like so much of it. I think for me the highlight was the energy in the atmosphere. Each speaker that came on, I was hanging on every word, so I loved all the ones that I saw. But for me, I think it was just seeing a good, vibrant, busy place and just loads of smiley, happy people. That was my highlight. Okay, so Richard Felix. Yes, he was. He was certainly popular, and his talk had to be split into two halves. Was that done in the end? His talk split into two halves?
Unfortunately not, because there's so many people wanted to see. I think everybody wanted to see Richard's talk, didn't they? And so we couldn't. It was too tight to get into that room, which is something we're going to address for next year. So I asked people if they wouldn't mind coming back later to see Richard talk. I didn't know, but Richard got an event on at Derby Jail that night, so he had to shoot off. So some people, including my wife Julie, didn't get to see Richard's talk, which is a shame. But you know, if he's got other commitments, he apologised and shot off. Because I didn't want to put all the others back an hour. I thought, you know. The others knew what time they were speaking, so I don't think it was right for me to say, well, you're not talking at 5 o'clock now, Neil, you're talking at 6 o'clock. I didn't think that was right. So I was going to put Richard on at the end. But it didn't work out that. And no one's made any comments about not getting to see it. I think most people were in there because it was jam-packed.
Yeah, I think when they said anybody wants to leave for later, I think 2 left and everybody else refused to move. So
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely we'll be sorting out for next time.
Amazing. Charles Rudd, when I meditate, I feel a feather on my right little finger. Do people often feel stuff when they meditate?
Yes, I meditate quite a lot, and feeling feathers or people close to you or seeing things, you know, it's all part of the message that comes from spirit. It's all part of the communication that you have through your body, through your consciousness, while you're meditating.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of self-hypnosis, and sometimes it feels like my arms and limbs are floating all over the place. Lauren Jones, one of my highlights was meeting your mum, Paul. Oh, that's nice. And for my mum, it was one of her highlights too. She's a great supporter of what I do, and she loves the paranormal. So it was a pleasure to take her. So yeah, and well, guest speaker wise, after Richard Felix, and you know, he was talking about what is a ghost, and I think that was really quite interesting, because you can tell he's really spent some time thinking about that, you know.
He's very passionate. Again, he's very passionate. I think all the speakers were passionate about their particular subject, which was good. It's and I think everyone who watched all the speakers knew the passion, and they were listening intently.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think that was a good thing.
Then after Richard Felix, there was some guy called Paul Goddard. Never heard of him.
Well, apparently you hypnotised everybody, didn't you?
I did, yes, and I think Lorien thought that was Steve from Higgypop actually joking. to begin with. But yes, it was. Yeah, it was. It's always nice, I say, in Higgypop's video to see everybody sort of slumped over in their chair. We've got some interesting results.
That's
so
good.
yeah. Do you have much experience yourselves through the reincarnation?
I've never been past life regressed. I'd love to do it.
We'll sort
I
it
know
out.
Jane, yeah, we sorted it out. Jane has.
I have, yeah, and I absolutely loved the experience, and I really wanted to do it again, but unfortunately, I've not had the opportunity yet. But I went back, which I think was my earliest life, and I was in I feel I was in some Middle Eastern country. I had darker skin, but I was only wearing some sort of leather things, and I was working in a temple. But on the front of the temple, there was sort of like a snake face. And I do believe it was some sort of reptilian sort of temple. But when I came back from that, I walked into this place, which I believe I was going into my next life, and it was a 1930s sort of hat stand, and I recognised my hat, and I wanted to put it on, and it was like 1930s sort of, yeah. And I've just not got back there, but it was a fantastic experience.
Good, excellent. Well, my brain's working over thinking how I can sort something out with both of you at some point. Barry, sorry, I think I dropped off during the hypnosis session. I was so relaxed. You know, when I have done the hypnosis ones online, or if I'm doing them with the person next to me and it's live online, you start people thinking, "Help! I'm falling asleep here," whilst they're listening to my hypnotic voice. So it's very common for people to fall asleep. You know, had people sort of fall asleep and then saying that jumping thing that people have had. Absolutely frightened me to death when that happens. It doesn't happen too often. Joanna, hello. How are you? I hope that you're good. Joanna, psychic medium. Nice to have you on board. So Kate Cheryl. She's going to be a big name. Cheryl. Oops, sorry, Kate, if you're watching. She had a fascinating talk about graveyards, and it made people think, I think. But I also think she's going to be, because it's allowed to be announced now, she's going to be a big name coming up.
Yeah, I think she's on with the Jack Osborne's new series. I think she's co-presenting that, which is fantastic. Kate, we've spoken to Kate many times. I think it's the first time we met her in person. She knows her stuff. Same as all speakers, they all know their stuff. Kate's talk was investigating in burial grounds or like churchyards. A little bit controversial, maybe, because a lot of people do investigate in cemeteries. But what she was saying to me made complete sense. Yeah,
no, I completely agree. And what would be fascinating to chat about, because has huge knowledge on Victorian seances, and that would be really good to chat to her about that at some point and know her knowledge about that. Have you got anything in the Haunted Antiques Centre which is to do with Victorian seances at all?
We do have a Victorian seance parlour.
Excellent.
So, you know, we've got things like a Victorian mourning cloak and pictures and lots of Victorian stuff in there. So, and we do our own seances here. It's something I'm fascinated by seances. And again, it's something I do want us to try and do a big seance as well.
Excellent.
We did plan on doing it. I actually contacted the Guinness Book of Records about doing the biggest online seance, right? Getting the biggest audience. Unfortunately, they wanted £10,000 off me. And I thought, nah, I'm not that bothered.
No.
Which is ridiculous, you know.
Just think of all the records that probably missed because people don't have £10,000 to give.
So it's something I want to do in the future. Maybe at the next ParaMeet, we'll see.
I like the sound of that. Hello to Ian. Yeah, that's okay. There, he said, "Sorry, I missed you. I had to go on work." That's fine. We all have to work. So yeah, but thank you for joining us tonight, Ian. Laurie, and what she say here? Still waiting on my kitten and candy floss. I don't know what that means actually. So I thought that was is that a comment to me? So I'm sorry I got that up. Medium Alan, hello Medium Alan. I hope you're doing really good. Iron Firehorse says Victorian seances sounds fascinating. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to going to the Haunted Antiques to hear about the Victorian seances. So moving on with the speakers now. The fantastic Neil Storey was talking about Bram Stoker. He was really, really good. There was a little picture of Neil to begin with, and he's appeared on each one of the Help My House is Haunted so far. He's an excellent dresser. Kind of reminds me very much like a Victorian gentleman, isn't he? The way he dresses.
He's such a character, Neil. The first time I met him was Friday night. He came to listen to Penny's talk at the centre Friday night. First time I met him. As soon as you meet him, you think, "Oh, I've known you for years."
Yeah.
He's
such a likeable person,
so
isn't he?
friendly and talks to you like he knows you, and I like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
A character, and I think our paranormal needs characters. Now, our paranormal field wouldn't be the same without Richard Felix. He's a character. Neil Storey is a character, and I love characters.
He really knows his stuff as well, though, doesn't he? He's so knowledgeable about so many things.
And he's releasing a book next year about Bram Stoker. So that's yeah. Neil's been messaging me quite a lot since Saturday, which is nice. So yeah, I didn't get to see his talk, unfortunately. Like I say, I was going around and mingling, which I think it was important for me to do. But yeah, amazing character, and I think hopefully he's a good friend of ours now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and likewise. Yeah, apparently it was Kate promised kitten and candy floss if we stayed for her talk. But I really liked her talk. I thought she was good. She was wonderful, and also as well, she's got some shots as well of her dressed up quite in sort of Victorian sort of Gothic kind of thing. Must mention Neil's partner who had the most amazing. She was made the most amazing dress. That she made herself.
She looked amazing, didn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. Lovely couple, absolutely lovely, and kind of those people that you felt you've known for
that's right.
Quite some time, definitely. Diane, Pete, and Barry Frankish. So Barry is watching at the moment. You said Barry wouldn't mind sort of talking about it, and I don't know how much you'd like us to sort of mention it, but the effect was really good on people, and what kind of sort of positives gained from that talk, and I think that's important. That it was that sort of event where I think you felt like you could truly be yourself at ParaMeet. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, Diane, she co-runs a small paranormal team. She comes from near Pendle Hill, so and she just asked if she could do a talk about their experiences, and I said, yeah, of course, yeah, it's the ParaMeet. I didn't just want well-known speakers, while we were talking about speakers, it was important to me to have UK speakers as well. A lot of these sort of paranormal conventions and things have American speakers. No disrespect to American speakers, but it was important to us all to have UK speakers because we're in the UK. So Diane is a small team, and she asked if she could share some of her evidence. And it was actually Diane who contacted Barry and asked him if he wanted to share his thoughts a part of her allocated time slot. Barry's talk I think it touched everyone in that room. And fair play to the guy. He stood there and spoke from his heart. And to be honest, it summed the whole day off. Barry could feel, he could talk about his inner demons, I guess. To some people he'd never met before. But I think everyone in that room was touched by what he was saying. And if we've achieved anything from the ParaMeet, is helping Barry on his way to sort of recovery or normality. And what more can I ask for?
I think there was so much sort of love and support and compassion for Barry, and a lot of people know Barry, known him a long time. We've known him a long time,
Yeah.
And it was nice to see people coming together and giving that love and support and having that compassion and understanding for somebody who's been through a difficult time.
Yeah, and you know, I think that probably Barry mentioning that they probably touched somebody in the audience that you know it probably helped them as well, and through this, hearing that might encourage somebody else. So
I know Barry's done a little bit of a write up, and he says within half an hour of him arriving, he was feeling better in himself, because I met him first. Then Ames met him, and Ames hugged him, and all this, and they've never met before. Now we've talked to him on podcasts and that sort of thing, and within minutes, I think he was feeling better in himself. And there is an iconic photograph, I think, of Barry and Lorianne and Kate Shirell and a few other people. Lucy was in it. I think that is an iconic picture from the ParaMeet. They'd never met before, those guys.
Yeah, and your Julie even had him looking after her stall, didn't
she?
Yeah,
Julie wanted to go and watch a talker thing, so Barry was actually looking after Julie's stall. That's the sort of day it was, you know. To me, towards the end, it was just like a group of mates having a day out. It really was, and I just felt anyone could go and talk to anyone.
Yeah.
None of the speakers were on a pedestal. They didn't feel like I'm not talking to you, I'm such and such.
And there's no big egos, was there? No big egos.
No egos.
Everybody was approachable. It was just lovely. It was a lovely day.
Yeah. It was really good. And Lauren says about Barry, there's also something from Stefan I was going to pull up as well. I said to Barry afterwards, I think everyone in the room was standing up right there next to him in spirit. We weren't watching him, we were with him. What a lovely thing to say.
That's fantastic. Well said, Lauren.
Stefan was saying about photographs being the angle that you take it, and sometimes having like auto-suggestion and that in certain photographs. I know you can certainly have like faces in the fire with certain photographs, but are there any photographs that you've seen, either given to you at the Haunted Antiques, that you've taken on your investigations, or somebody's shown you, which has been kind of like that cannot be anything else that you can think of at this moment in time?
Oh yeah, there's loads. We have captured, not just us, but other teams have captured so much evidence at the centre. I think that's something that when we do our talk next year at the ParaMeet, we're going to show some of our evidence captured at the centre. You know, there's a new series of Unexplained Caught on Camera, and they've got about 5 different clips from the centre.
Excellent.
And they can't. You
just can't explain to them.
We try
smash mirror.
Yeah, we try and debunk. Well, same as everybody else. We try and. I don't like the word debunk. I wish I could think of a new word, but we try and debunk everything we do. But sometimes you just think, I can't explain that. And yes, very very often people give us photographs, and I'd say, well, I think it's pareidolia. I think. Now, you see faces in wallpaper and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I will say to people, to me, it's pareidolia. I'm not saying I'm right, but in my opinion, there's nothing there. However, if someone shows me a picture and Jane will say, "Yeah, there's a man there," and especially if we can go back to that face, back to Jane's drawing, and it's the same.
Agreed, yeah.
Oh yeah, because we have had that. People have captured photographs.
That's kind of interesting then.
Yeah, somebody's actually captured a photograph of one of the men at the top of the stairs, and he's so like my picture. It's uncanny. But one of the other best ones we've had is Blueface, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
You just can't you just can't explain that. That was taken on a thermal camera, and we'll show you that when you come up, because it's just amazing. You just can't explain it. And I've showed it to so many people, and even people who've worked with flare cameras and everything for years can't explain it. And it's been one of the best pieces of evidence we've caught.
Yeah. I'd love to see that, definitely. So a quick one here from Brian. I never realised I had so many friends in the paranormal world. Love you all. And I think there's a lot of love going to Barry as well, most definitely. So we're at the hour mark, so we've got another half hour left, and it's going quickly, as all of them do. Absolutely love doing these. But I think the ideal time, because we've mentioned about the haunted antiques, because to say where it is, I know it's Hinckley, but how people can get in contact with you when it's open, what sort of stuff you do there, a little bit about the escape room as well. I know that we mentioned it last time round, but I think it's good to mention it again. And there's some new faces, new names coming up. Hi Sam, hope you're doing good. There's some new faces, new names popping up here that probably might like to know about it. Excuse me.
Yeah,
so that'll be good.
We run the Haunted Antiques Paranormal Research Centre in Hinckley and Leicestershire. We've been open just over 4.5 years now. It's basically a building with lots of different rooms in, and the rooms are all themed. Like we got the Victorian Sounds Parlour, we've got the War Room, we've got the Doll Room, and they've got suspected or potentially haunted items in there. We don't claim that all the items are haunted, but it is a very active building. We've been voted the top 10 most haunted building in the UK. Something we always question: how do you quantify one building is more haunted than another? And we do our own events. We have guests up here. We have paranormal teams in every weekend investigating. We always record things that people tell us, so that's part of the research. The back end of the building is also now an escape room. So it's an escape room with a difference, because you are in possibly the most haunted or most negative room in the building, which can add to the excitement, which is good fun. That's just to bring extra income into the building. And we do live feeds from the work we do. We do the Demon Connections series mainly from the centre, that sort of thing. That's about it.
We do lots of things. We do a lot of help with people. A lot of people come into the centre for help, guidance about spirit. We go to people's houses if they come in, and locally if they're having troubles. We do quite a lot, really, don't we?
We do. Yeah.
Amazing. You can find you on the internet and also as well on Facebook.
Yeah.
And also as well, the ParaMeet 2023 is a group that people can join. So if you just sign up, you join. Is that right?
Yeah. The group on Facebook it was called ParaMeet 2022. I've just renamed it to 2023. So we've kept the same.
Excellent.
People on it are still on it. As things get confirmed, we will be putting the details on there. We are hopefully going to look at another location next week, because, like I said, I think it's important not to hold it at the same place every time. Plus, and I know Paul. We've shown Paul a picture of the potential location, which we're not saying yet because we've not even been. and it does look amazing, doesn't it, Paul?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, so I can say that I'm good at keeping secrets.
Good.
But yeah,
I'm
it does
not.
look
I'm not.
amazing. Oh right, okay. I'll make sure that I keep my
I'm
secret.
useless. Normally, I'm useless. So we are planning ParaMeet 2023 because I think it's important for us to keep the momentum going. People are still messaging me about last weekend, which is great. But we need to keep it going. Otherwise, if we don't say anything on that group for 3 months, people will forget about it.
Yes.
So we will keep on about it, and we will be announcing the guest speakers. Like I said, the ones from last weekend have all said they'd love to come back, which is fantastic, and you are all welcome to come back.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you all again. But I think next year we'll probably do it over a weekend, so it'll be a Saturday and a Sunday event.
Good.
So we can have more speakers and more things going on, because we've got at least 2 experiments that we're planning to do when we're there. So already different ideas are coming. And again, all the speakers will be from the UK. No disrespect to any of the viewers in America, but it's important to me to have UK speakers because
We're in the UK.
we're in the UK.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as well, I love watching any ghost hunting program, but I tend to find when you have ones that are from the UK, just the history of the buildings, is what I absolutely love. Lorian says maybe I'll have an alehouse haunt store next year if I get this book done. Of course, you'll get it done. I've my absolute faith in you getting it done, Lorian. What would be good is a haunted brewery's beers, all sort of laid up for sale. Now, how brilliant would that be?
That would be good.
Yeah. Let's see if we've had any questions here. If I make it to England, I will visit. Yeah, that'd be really, really, really nice, Charles. Barry, I actually forgot I wrote a book. Oh, Barry, please let us know what that is. Yeah.
You didn't mention it, did you, Barry?
Yeah, do you want to mention it? I mean, please mention it, Barry, but, Neil, if you want to... And Jane, if you want to mention the book.
Actually, I didn't mention my book either.
If you mention your books.
Yeah, I wrote a book a couple of years ago. It's called Mercurius and the Shattered Mirror. At the minute, you can only buy it on Amazon, but I am buying another batch in because people have been asking for it. Because when they buy it from me, I actually sign them and personalise them. So I am buying another batch in. That is Barry's book, The Restless Realm.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So
See, maybe you need a book corner at the next ParaMeet.
Can have a book corner.
Or if people can bring all have a book corner where the people can meet the authors and buy the books.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Iron Firehorse says yes, the old buildings and the accent of the UK I love and miss. And it's so nice to sort of see where we were at Bosworth Hall was so kind of fascinating. I actually was speaking to somebody that I know that their granddad worked there when it was a hospital. It was a hospital at one point. So it's nice to have all those layers of history. And I'm still keeping quiet about the next place. But yeah, I'm sure that has lots of layers of history and things as well. So this book is about my interpretation of the modern paranormal world. And he says, apparently it's not bad. I think... Oops, sorry. That's... I'm sure it's absolutely amazing, Barry. I'm sure it is. I want to know the potential new place. I'm still staying quiet. So if you want to trust me with a secret, Lorian, you can certainly trust me with it, most definitely. Excellent. What would be good to know as well, when you sort of, were were there. Is there anybody that you're sort of chatting to that with your haunted antiques and anything you both do that you kind of, because I like sharing ideas, and I think it's sort of place which is idea to sort of share ideas. And the way I put it, I've heard it once before, I can't remember the person who did the quote, but if I have an apple and you have an apple and we swap apples, we just have an apple each, but if we were to share an idea, then we both walk away with two ideas.
Right.
Any of the paranormal investigators, anybody that was there at Bosworth Hall, did you get anything that is similar to that?
Yeah, we like to share things. Having said that, though, as everyone knows, Jane draws in her Bible of a book all the spirits that she sees. But we have found in the past that as soon as we sort of say, "Oh, we've got this negative spirit up here," and we sort of give him a name. For the next few months, when teams come to the centre, they are all picking up on this particular spirit. Now, are they actually picking up on him? Is he here? Or are they just got that suggestion in their head? So Jane is very wary about sharing all her drawings. And so we don't announce a lot that we pick up on, because we want teams, when they come to the centre, tell us. But again, the ParaMeet was the location to share ideas, and I think the paranormal equipment guys were doing lots of sort of talking and lots of business, because they got some new equipment and they were explaining. So that was good. So I think that's good, sharing different pieces of equipment. Me, Paul, and Andy from the Haunted Magazine, we are always sharing ideas. Like I said before, Paul is my go-to man. If I want to know if someone I've never heard of contacts me, I will go to Paul and say, "Do you know this guy?" And if Paul says, "Yeah, he's a good guy," then I know I can talk to him. If Paul says, "Leave, don't touch him," I won't. So that's sharing ideas is always good. I like teams sharing locations as well, because you see quite a few teams say exclusive location or a secret location. As long as it's legal to go there, I think it should be shared, and I think evidence should be shared, but you can't share too much evidence on Facebook, because you get shot down in flames. We've known new groups who have come to the centre and shared a photograph, and they get slated, so they stop investigating.
Real shame that.
That's not right.
No.
Again, I will, if they want my opinion, I'll give my opinion, but I'll say that's just my opinion. If I can't see something, I'll say I can't see anything. But it is important to keep sharing.
We always try and get people to, we always try and encourage people to share their evidence, especially when they've been to the centre, because people capture so much fantastic stuff. And when more than one person or, different random people capture the same sort of thing, that's when it becomes then really fantastic. And it's like I said in our talk, when different people experience the same thing and we can record that then becomes more than just coincidence. And that's the sort of bit that we want to look at. At what point does it stop becoming a coincidence? And is it actually, with that information, what do we do with that, and how do we sort of prove that what these people are experiencing is real?
Exactly. Barry has to get up early, so he's off now. Love the show, and meeting you. I hope our paths cross soon. Thank you, Barry.
Yeah,
and
good night, Barry.
Sleep well, and hope that tomorrow's good for you. Lauren said, "I know, Paul. I've tried to get secrets out of you in the past. Blood from a stone."
That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like to thank Sam for a lovely comment she just said about me as well. So anything else coming up in the pipeline? Because I know you're looking at ParaMeet 2023, but anything else coming up before the end of the year that you're excited about?
At the minute, the most important thing, the most important work that we do at the centre is what we call the Demon Connections. And that we used to do live feeds with the Demon Files, as we called it then. It's changed to Demon Connections. To me, that's the most important work or research that we do as a team. We are recording that from now on. We are making episodes, and they are going to be going on to Paraflix Network towards the end of the year. Episode 1 will be on there. So that's really exciting to see people's reaction, because we have had people stop talking to us over the demon work. But they are really important, and I think we are finding so much information out because we like to question everything. Just because the paranormal world says that's the way it is, we don't go along with that. We want to know for ourselves. So the Demon Connections is very important to us, and we will be carrying on with them. So that's plus the ParaMeet. That's going to take some organising, but at least we're giving ourselves 12 months to do that now.
Yeah.
So that's exciting as well.
Yeah, Julie's organising a Christmas party.
Oh
That's
yes,
exciting.
we're having a Christmas party this year in Hinckley. So if anyone watching wants to come and have a Christmas party, booze up with us, you're all welcome. So yeah, so it's all very exciting. We like to have fun. We take the paranormal seriously, but we do have a laugh, you know.
Yeah. And one of the things that we do say to people is we are a research centre. When people come and say, you know, we've got to protect this, or we've got to close this down, and we've got to do this, that, and the other, then and we don't do that, and people question that, then we are a research centre, and we want to find out for ourselves what happens if we don't do this, or what happens if we do this, and that's sort of the basis of what we do, isn't it? We don't stick to the rules, and who makes these rules up in the first place?
Yeah, indeed. Lorian says, I don't know if I've told you before, in the attic room I heard a sound travel across the ceiling. It sounded like a tinkle of an 80s shell lampshade. One of the weirdest experiences.
That's good.
Has she told you before?
No, she hasn't. Naughty girl.
No. Yeah, anybody else experienced something like that?
Well, we have had footsteps going across it, haven't we?
We have had footsteps going across the ceiling in the attic room, and of course that is the attic, so there's nothing above it, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But to be honest, nothing surprises us. We've caught pictures of what looks like a snake. To me, it looks like a snake-like creature coming out the attic door.
Wow.
We've got videos of it. To me, again, it looks like a doll's head, just flashes for a split second, then goes. So nothing surprises us up here. It can be scary at times, I must admit, especially to me, because I'm well known to be a bit of a coward. I won't lock up the second floor on my own at night. Because this scares me a bit.
But the building is a completely different monster when you're on your own, and it doesn't have to be night time either. Just in the day, to even 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
I've been in here on my own, and it can be really quite scary. The building itself is a complete monster when you're on your own.
Yeah,
and it does change.
There's something else that we're doing we should be starting perhaps next week. Is we're going to invite people to spend 2 hours on their own upstairs in the pitch black. All they're going to have is the night vision camera, so all they can see by is the little viewfinder. That's the only light they can see, and see how long they last. And they've got to investigate all the rooms. There's no way I'd do it.
No,
I must admit. But a lot of people, oh yeah, we can do that. But like Jane says, you get on your own upstairs in the dark. It is a different monster.
But we're talking completely on your own, not with your mates in the base room, or not with and nobody's ever done it. Nobody's ever stayed in this building all night on their own, going from room to room, doing different experiments. it's somebody has tried it, but they didn't,
but they wouldn't leave one room. They stayed in one room all night.
because something happened and they got that terrified.
So again, you see, I think everyone will react differently to it. Again, to me, that is research into people's reactions to being isolated, pitch black, in a very haunted building.
Lorian says, what's the worst room there, or best room, depending on your point of view?
Well, actually, it changes. Normally, the most negative room is the attic room.
Yeah.
But the last couple of weeks, the doll room has become quite.
It's been a bit weird, hasn't
it? It's changed. It's become a bit weird. We don't know why. I think perhaps because we've got some jars of soil, and I moved the jars of soil from the attic room into the doll room because of the escape room. Perhaps that's changed it. I've moved them back now. See if it goes back. But yeah, I wouldn't fancy. To me, the scariest room is the occult room, the landing that takes you from the doll room towards the attic room. There's the landing, the occult room. There's some stairs there as well. That area, that corridor scares me because there's lots of places people can jump out at you and that sort of thing. I don't like horror films, you see, so I don't like jump scares. So if something poked their head around the corner, I'd be running.
I think for me it would be the attic room, because the big mirror's in there, and I've been through that big mirror and I've seen some of the things that come in and out of that mirror. So I do think that the attic room is probably the best room to be in.
Lauren says, I keep hearing a child. Anyone else? I must admit, I haven't heard a child, but if you can mention any particular time, Lauren, that would be good. But yeah, interesting anyway. I can't believe how quickly this is all gone, but it's kind of not moved. It's kind of moved slightly away from the haunted. But I want to pick up on something, and probably it's a question that Jane will be able to answer the best, because what is it about certain rooms that, particularly when you're by yourself, you feel so bad? Because I remember when I was a child, I was on a family holiday to Plymouth, and I was actually able to look round a haunted place in the Barbican by myself for a short period of time. The first floor, where all the activity was supposed to be happening, in the rocking cradle, I felt fine in, and it was like this where all people got freaked out. But I went to the top floor, and it just felt absolutely awful. So I went back down to what was supposed to be the haunted room then after. So what is it that when you're by yourself, is it just like fear because you're by yourself, or is there something more going on with the spirits, the entities, whatever?
Yeah, I think the different strengths of the spirits and things, I think they can sort of judge, and I think they can judge and calculate your vulnerability and sort of your state of mind. And in some cases, it just makes people an easy target.
Yeah, interesting, excellent. So quickly, you mentioned about the escape room, and one of the reasons why you've taken the soil out is because I think you're saying people actually were tipping the soil out onto the floor, thinking it was part of the escape room.
Yeah.
So so what's the kind of general story about the escape room? Because I know escape rooms are really popular at the moment, and I'm sure there's people watching that would love to take part without giving it away.
It's the theme of the escape room is called the Devil's Den. So the questions are basically focused around the paranormal. So you just work out clues to get to the next stage. The whole idea of starting the escape room is bringing some income to the centre midweek, or before the paranormal teams come in. So the cost of living, everything, times are hard. So so teams are a bit more reluctant to book a long way in advance. So it's an extra way of getting the income to keep the centre open. When I haven't got teams in, it's been really well received. It's hilarious watching it because because the rooms where the escape room is, I've got cameras up, so I can actually watch and listen to people. and it is hilarious watching. I must admit, it's good fun. It's even better fun when they ask for an extra clue. So I dress up as a monk and go in, and I just start off. I'll just stand there, and they don't see me to start off with. And one instance, there's a group of youngsters in. I just stood by the door, and they didn't see me. Then one of them saw me, screamed through the camera, through the torch at me, and I just burst out laughing. It was hilarious, and then I stood by one lady, and she was a bit nervous because I was standing next to her, so she moved away. So I followed her. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But I give them an extra clue.
Yeah. Oh, that would.
Feedback has been really, really good. People have really enjoyed it.
Excellent, and I'd absolutely love to see the footage if it's available of the person throwing the torch at you.
It is funny.
Brilliant. Well, we've literally 5 minutes left. You know, it's gone so incredibly quickly. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you feel that you really want to say before the end of this live?
Anything you can think of?
I would just say to people to just keep an eye on really what we're doing, because there's a lot of new ideas in the pipelines. There's a lot of things that we're working on in the background, and just watch this space, because there's going to be a lot of new stuff coming up in the new year, and new things, new live feeds and stuff.
Going back to the ParaMeet next year, we do have quite a few followers all around the world. So I am thinking of a way to include the American audience as well, and the Australian audience who follow the centre. So I'm thinking of a way to include them as well. Obviously, they can't be there, but we'll try and include them.
Excellent. Carol ETA says thank you for an interesting night. Have enjoyed. Reed Carabangas here. Loved hearing about the ParaMeet and the museum. Hope to attend next year when I come to England. That would be absolutely lovely. Yeah, I really like that. Love the live shows. Thank you, Stefan. Really, really appreciate that. So next week we have Jane Mortimer, who'll be talking about her Wheelie Haunted, and she's talking about accessibility, that people that want to attend, not just if you need mobility access for like wheelchairs, but also people that might be blind or all that sort of thing. So that's really good. And where we were at Bosworth Hall, I had great accessibility around. So that's going to be really interesting to hear. A good friend of Florian's, wonderful lady Jane. So thank you so much. You're right to stay at the end, just to have so it's not just like, right, that's it, bye then.
Bye.
That would be amazing. But thank you everybody for watching. So I wasn't here last couple of weeks, but the cold was pretty nasty and the rest did me good. So thank you for all joining again tonight, and I thank you. And another one here. Thank you for another fascinating night chit chat. Thank you very much, Lorna. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you next week.